A typical Wistar rat lives out 32 months and has a known amount of tumor mass in its body. The longer it lives, the more tumor mass it has in its body. Even though the MyVitalC rats lived out to 62 months, again, 90% longer, none of them had any tumors. So this study where the rats lived 90% longer comes out in 2012. In mid-2013, we start getting phone calls from this crazy, wacky group of people called biohackers. And they were like, hey, that stuff that extended the lives of the rats by 90%, how much of that should I be consuming on a daily basis?
Okay, Diet Disruptors, wait until you hear today's episode. It is honestly one of the favorites of all time. I sat down with Chris Burres, who is a scientist, and what I thought would be a great conversation around longevity and things like that turned into a full-on geek fest over a molecule I had no idea even existed. I had no idea how much it mattered. And wow, for our health, our aging, our energy, longevity, this is probably the longest podcast I've ever recorded, but it was necessary. I was sitting on the edge of my seat the entire time. I didn't check the clock. I was not zoning out. It was one of those conversations where you literally can feel how much it matters and how spot on it is. This is something that you have not heard of before, and I am so excited to bring it to you. We connected dots that most people never hear talked about. We challenged a few mainstream assumptions and unpacked information that could genuinely change how you think about your body and your health. So buckle up. This one matters, and you are going to want to listen to every single word. Well, welcome to Chris Burres, who is a published author, host of the Uncovering the Secrets to Longevity Health Summit. He is also a podcast host, and I love that I was able to be a guest on his podcast. That is how we met. He holds a patent with like some unbelievable stuff. He's a visionary scientist. And I think what the coolest thing about Chris is he's also a master of comedy improv. So he is the founder and chief scientist at MyVitalC. And this is where he manufactures a Nobel Prize-winning molecule. It is responsible for the single longest longevity experimental result in history. And I am all about longevity. I am all about doing things for our bodies so we can serve our purpose for as long as possible. And this is literally the scientist behind this stuff. He's like the intersection somewhere where science meets laughter. His life's mission is to help people live longer, healthier, happier, pain-free lives with science and also with humor. So Chris, hey.
Carrie, thank you so much for having me. It was great to have you on my podcast. I'm excited for when that episode comes out. We did some deep dives into your expertise and, the BS that they should avoid and the BSs that they should go after. Excited for that and excited to hop in here and get geeky because that's kind of what I like.
I love geeky. I also love how synergistic what we talk about is, right? Like, I think that, everybody has this level of like expertise in a certain area. And my job is to like take puzzle pieces and kind of put it together for my clients and for my listeners. And you fill a puzzle piece I don't think most people even know they need. And it has something to do with this kind of really interesting special molecule. And you seem to like be this expert on it, know it, understand it, have like show people all the things about it. I need to understand what this molecule is. It's called ESS60. Am I right?
That is correct.
All right,
yes.
Go geek out on us. This is so fascinating.
Well, the first thing that's super geeky is I'm holding a model of this molecule. And if you're listening, just imagine a soccer ball where the lines on the soccer ball represent the bonds between the carbon atoms. So you have a spherical molecule of 60 carbon atoms, and we call it ESS60. The molecule was discovered in 1985 at Rice University. That's here in Houston where our lab is based. And the three scientists who discovered it went on to win the Nobel Prize for that discovery. So it's, we all know, we say it's a Nobel Prize-winning molecule, but molecules can't win Nobel Prizes. The people who discover the molecule.
Like, who do you give the award to if they did, right? Okay.
So the three scientists who discovered it won the Nobel Prize in 1996. My lab started manufacturing it in 1991, a full 5 years before they were awarded the Nobel Prize. Now,
wow.
I am not a very braggadocious person.
You're like the OG.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So I'm not a very braggadocious person. So this is as far as I will push it. It's not unreasonable to suggest that the fact that our lab was delivering commercial quantities of this molecule to research institutions around the world was the reason they could research it, understand it, and realize that it was Nobel Prize worthy, right?
Wow. Yeah.
So that's kind of cool. We are the OGs. Now, why is this molecule so amazing? The way I kind of look at it, it performs as well or better than the current best material in almost every application. So it makes better inks, better batteries, better tires, better photocells. And this is where I lose a lot of people in the health space. Because
Yep, because that doesn't feel like a connection we want to make.
no one in your audience, because there are some biohackers, but usually no one in your audience woke up this morning, looked at their car battery and thought, I wonder what component of that I should be taking on a daily
No,
basis.
because we keep saying like the petroleum that is in our cars and on our streets is also in our food. So we've been trained to not want the similar kind of thing in our
How do we avoid
bodies.
that? Well, and I have to share, the story does get a little worse before it gets better. So
Okay, we'll stick with you.
one of the shapes, well, it's 20 of the shapes on the exterior of this are reminiscent of benzene, right? So they have 6 carbon atoms. Benzene has 6 carbon atoms and 6 hydrogen atoms. This one just has the 6 carbon atoms. But because it's got the same shape, they assumed this molecule would be toxic. They put it in a toxicity study. Instead of being toxic, the test subjects that they gave it to, in this case, Wistar rats, lived 90% longer than the control group. So the single longest longevity experimental result on mammals in history, peer-reviewed published research, is because of the ESS60 molecule dissolved in olive oil. And I'm very proud to share our lab provided the material, and our lab is mentioned in that original study.
Okay, wait. I have so many questions. Why did they actually even test it? Especially like if you think it's toxic, whatever it is, like what made them, do we just test all these different molecules to find out? Or
Well,
does
I'll give you
this one stand out for a reason?
I'll give you a perspective, right? So it would have been nice to know that asbestos was dangerous and they should have done more testing before they started using asbestos, right? Same thing with this. I mean, better ink, batteries, tires, photocells, like ostensibly we should be working with this material in every aspect of our lives. One of the challenges is it's very expensive to make. And I'll just kind of segue here. In order to manufacture this molecule, you have to vaporize 2 graphite rods in an inert environment, so 0 oxygen at a slight vacuum. And it turns out that graphite is one of the hardest materials on the planet to vaporize. So you need local temperatures of the sun to vaporize this molecule. Yes. So it is extremely, that's a good start, right? Maybe we should have started there. By the way, if I were to wake up today, right, and not have the experience that I have and really the serendipity that I have to have been working with this so long, and I was like, hey, I'm going to start a company and I want to make supplements, I would probably not choose this one, right?
Yeah.
So you're vaporizing graphite at the heat of the sun. The material that comes off of that is 90% carbon garbage, 10% kind of useful, right? 80% of that 10% is this ESS60 molecule, but you got to separate it. Now you've got to isolate it. Now you got to clean it, make sure it's good for people and pets. And then you have to mix it in olive oil, not for 1 week, not for 2 weeks, for 3 weeks. Right? Everything about this is like, choose another supplement, like vitamin
Krista,
D.
how do you know this? Like, how did you figure this out?
So it's really interesting, and thinking about one. Let's roll back to why did we start manufacturing this? So my business partner was working at the Texas Center for Superconductivity here at the University of Houston. So it's an organization housed on the University of Houston campus, and there's a very famous superconductivity professor called Dr. Paul Chu. Actually, the building on the campus, we all called it Chu's Castle because that's why it got built. And Robert, my business partner, was separating this material. So that 10% that's not 90% carbon junk, that 10% is made up of a collection of fullerenes, right? So you've got 60 carbon atoms, 70 carbon atoms, and multiples up. The 2 predominant ones are the 60.
You're making me have to go back to like high school chemistry.
I'll try not.
You're doing great. You're doing great.
So he's separating, my business partner is separating this material in their chromatography lab. Dr. Chu comes in one day and says, hey, this molecule is selling for $6,000 a gram. You should, and your young kids, you should go start a business manufacturing this. And my business partner, Robert, is from an entrepreneurial background. I joke that he did a back of the napkin calculation with one line, $6,000 a gram. So he's like, how do I make this equipment? I'm studying engineering at the time. I come in to help with the drawings, heat of the sun, vacuums, help build it all together. I was kind of supposed to help and then go away, but I stuck around. And so now we've been working with this molecule for 34 years.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like literally you are not one of the supplement industry is the wild, wild west. I know I have a supplement line and I know
Like, you know who you're going against, right? You're like, how are they surviving, right?
it's crazy. And it's like they're, they come in at night and they sell a bunch of stuff and then they're gone. And it's like there's no real regulation. But the fact that this is one of the things I think is so fascinating about you and what you're doing, to me, science of longevity is I think we talked about this a little bit on your podcast. It was like there's not a lot of like knowledge of these people that are doing all these things that have they lived to 150 years old. But for you to have this for 34 years, I mean, that would go against just about anybody else out there in the market. And you have
And you can throw in, and you might hear sprinklings of this as the story kind of unfolds, is part of the story is Chris wishes he was actually smarter, right? Because there's opportunities that were missed for years at a time. In fact, I'll share. So this study where the rats live 90% longer comes out in 2012. In mid-2013, we start getting phone calls from this crazy, wacky group of people called biohackers. And I can say that affectionately now because I am a biohacker now.
I would say you are one.
Yeah.
And I have a membership at a biohacking gym, so I love that too.
Right. And they called and they were like, hey, that stuff that extended the lives of the rats by 90%. How much of that should I be consuming on a daily basis? And what Robert and I heard was, hey, that stuff that you sell to research institutions around the world so that they can put it into ink, batteries, tires, and photocells, how much should we take? And we thought 0. We added not for human consumption to our labeling in mid-2013. So think about that. From 1991 all the way to mid-2013, we don't have to have not for human consumption on the labeling. And we add it. Now, I want to be clear, in the literature, it was understood the molecule was safe. We're just conservative carbon nanomaterial scientists. And we're like, ink, batteries, tires, photocells, 0. Now,
it just makes sense. It just makes sense. Wait, can I just ask you this? Let's go back. Why? Yeah. What do we use it for in those things? Like, what is the purpose of this molecule in ink and car batteries and tires and stuff?
Yeah. So, and battery, I'm kind of a nickname for this molecule is a buckyball. And in a battery, I'm hopeful that it will work one day. It is cost competitive with lithium because lithium is pretty expensive. It would be very cool to have a Bucky battery. I just feel like that rolls off the tongue.
I know this might be the next business, but keep going.
The thing that makes this unique and have applications in so many areas is it can hold up to 6 negatively charged particles on the exterior of the cage, right? And what tends to make, in the case of a battery and so many things, what tends to make the batteries go bad is the deterioration of the material as the electron comes on to be held as a battery, as it goes off to provide power, right? That on and off breaks up the molecule. This molecule has 6-fold symmetry. So there's 6 planes that is symmetrical through. It also has a ton of carbon-carbon double bonds, which is the strongest bond in chemistry, period.
Okay.
And so as an example, you can fire this molecule at a plate of steel at 15,000 miles an hour, where most molecules will just shred apart. This one, I kind of picture it like, collapsing and then bouncing right back. So that resilience would make it very effective in a battery because it should not deteriorate. And it's very similar electrical properties that would be applicable in the rest, like solar cells, also very electrical. Inks, it just flows smoother. It's smaller. I mean, it is a nanoparticle. But again, it's just so expensive.
Where does one find, like not me, but like you, where do you find, where is this molecule? Where does it exist? And are we able to make it ourselves?
So a couple things. As we're talking about a reactor and vaporizing graphite, you're like, oh, it's a man-made molecule. And right. So everyone in your audience has been exposed to this molecule. And for evidence, I'll share. If you collect the soot from a candle flame, right? So you put a cold steel plate over a candle flame, that deep, dark soot will have parts per million or parts per billion of the ESS60 molecule, right? So we have all been exposed to it. There is tons of it in space. That's kind of why they originally discovered it, because somebody was trying to figure out what spectra was happening in space. And the KT boundary, that it's the layer of Earth associated with when the asteroid struck the Earth and wiped out the dinosaurs, has an elevated amount. It's not enough to mine or anything, but it is an elevated amount. So it's a naturally occurring molecule. And then the next consideration was like, we've got bioidentical hormones. Is it actually the same thing, et cetera? This is such a simple molecule. It does not matter if you collect it from a candle, or you collect it from the KT boundary, or you figure out how to harvest it from space, or you make it in a reactor. It is the same molecule no matter what you do.
So I feel like harvesting from space is just way more complicated than it needs to be. Just burn a candle.
I don't know. You start talking about, well, candle, yes, but you start talking about vaporizing graphite, and you're like, hey, could we maybe build a spaceship and go get it from space instead?
Yeah, that feels expensive and hard and challenging. So there's other ways to do it. But like, is this a molecule that, so we don't have this, like the longevity concept of this is not something that's innately within our bodies now.
Well,
is it?
Well, if you have this molecule, and you do, you're going to have some minimal amount of this in your, parts per billion, probably.
Okay.
Then the Boss theory suggests what is actually going on, right? And so the Boss theory is the buffering oxidative stress system. We know from peer-reviewed published research that this ESS60 molecule gets into the mitochondria. And we know from way back in the 90s.
From our environment?
Say that again.
Just from our environment?
Well, just if you get it in you, right, it can get into the mitochondria.
I hear what you're saying. Like, if you can get the molecule inside of you, then it gets into the mitochondria.
And I'll segue just real quick here. So it wouldn't surprise you that if you had a pile of this ESS60 powder, it's going to be a black crystalline powder, right? It's carbon crystalline, like sugar crystals or salt crystals. You can consume that as long as it's processed for people and pets. You can consume it, but it's not water soluble, so you'll just excrete it all. Like, very minimal bioavailability.
This is why it needs to be in oil.
Exactly. So when you dissolve it in oil, now you break those crystals down, and you have individual ESS60 molecules floating around in the olive oil. When we sell it in olive oil, avocado oil, and MCT oil, and now it's basically infinitely more bioavailable. So now we know that can get into your system, and there's peer-reviewed published research that it gets into the mitochondria when it's in your system, right?
Which is so important. I mean, everything that I talk about when it comes to our bodies is around the concept of cellular dysfunction, right? Like, once our cells are all jacked up, this is when we start to see symptoms, metabolic dysfunction, metabolic disease, and it all comes from a cellular level. And when we are literally working to support our mitochondria, that's getting to the root.
Yeah.
That's why the whack-a-mole game of going after symptoms drives me crazy, because we're not actually getting to the root. And that's so much of what biohacking is, as opposed to supplemental like stuff that lays on the surface.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
I love that.
You kind of mentioned at the cellular level, and I like to talk about a lot of supplements will brag that they operate at the cellular level, and they should, because there's some that don't, right? A lot of people don't really picture activated charcoal is something that doesn't get into your system. It stays in your intestinal tract, and it does a good job of detoxing there.
Well, especially when you have food poisoning.
Yeah, right. But it doesn't get into your system, right? So it's not going around and like collecting stuff from your cells. We like to brag that this works at the subcellular level, right? So not just inside the cell, inside the mitochondria.
Right. So that's like inside.
Yeah. And so to give from perspective on what we think is going on, right? Quick refresher: mitochondria, of course, powerhouse of every cell. There's between 50 and 5,000 mitochondria in every cell in your body, except for your brain cells and your neurons, which have 2 million. It is amazing how much energy our nervous system uses. Like every power source, there is a negative byproduct. You think about your car going down the road, it's got exhaust. You think about a power plant, it's got a smokestack. In the case of mitochondria, it's reactive oxygen species. And I picture these like little bumper cars. If they're left to their own devices, they're in your body, and everything they smack into, they rust. They cause oxidative stress, oxidative damage, ultimately inflammation. And
I often say it's like little lightning bolts.
Yeah.
You know? That's
Yeah.
awesome. Okay, yeah.
Well,
Great,
maybe.
great analogy.
Oh, wait, that goes with the bumper cars too. Well, the old bumper
Yeah.
cars that had electricity. Now I don't know what runs.
Yes. When we were kids. Yeah, got it. Yeah. The ones that could have literally killed us.
Yeah,
But
don't lick that. Okay, you know some kid did. There's always one kid.
For sure.
It's usually a boy, but there's always one kid.
Always a boy.
So, and maybe a girl going, "Hey, you should lick that."
Yeah.
That's hilarious. So,
all right, we digress, Mr. Comedian.
So internal to your mitochondria, right? This is a bad thing. These bumper cars causing rust and damage and lightning, right? Internal to the mitochondria, you've got the key antioxidants, glutathione and melatonin, to really manage those reactive oxygen species. But what happens when you stress a mitochondria? And next question is, well, how do you stress a mitochondria? I like to point out, you're alive in modern society. You have stressed mitochondria, right? Whether it's smoking, drinking, EMF exposure, sunlight exposure, stressful emails, stressful conversation, like you have a stressed mitochondria. And when that happens, that's when that mitochondria produces more energy and more reactive oxygen species. That's when if they're left to their own devices, they cause damage.
More bumper cars bumping.
Yep. And that's where the ESS60 molecule comes in. It holds on to those negatively charged particles, those negatively charged reactive oxygen species, so they can't do any damage. And then
really? So it's like these lightning bolts, it's like they're like, I got you. I picture like a superhero that's like, I got this. You go live your life. I'll hold on to this negative, like evil being.
And so it's a buffer. So it's holding on to it. And then when that mitochondria replenishes the glutathione, replenishes the melatonin, then it can manage those lightning bolts appropriately. I've got a fun analogy. And I don't know if you agree with me. I feel like all biological analogies should start with Mardi Gras.
Okay. I've been to Mardi Gras. Yeah. I was at Mardi Gras in 2020. I'm pretty sure COVID, like, just that was like the little ecosystem there. It was ridiculous. But anyway, let's keep going.
Well, and let's be realistic. A lot of biology happens at Mardi Gras. So that
would make sense.
So it's the end of Mardi Gras. You got these drunk reactive oxygen species running around on Bourbon Street, causing all sorts of havoc. And the New Orleans Police Department, the glutathione and melatonin, come on to Bourbon Street, handcuff themselves to those reactive oxygen species, and get them off of Bourbon Street. But what does the New Orleans Police Department do when they get overwhelmed? They take those reactive oxygen species and they put them in a paddy wagon. They attach them to the ESS60 molecule so they can't do any damage. And then when they can replenish the glutathione, replenish the melatonin, then they can handcuff themselves to these reactive oxygen species and get them off of Bourbon Street. And that's why we say that the ESS60 molecule is the boss, a buffering oxidative stress system. And the whole summary of this is we're reducing the negative, according to the boss theory, we're reducing the negative impact of stressed mitochondria. And given the importance of mitochondria, if you're reducing the negative impact of stressed mitochondria, then you should have systemic benefits. You should have what we have, which are head-to-toe testimonials.
So what happens to these criminals, right? And they're in the paddy wagon.
Yeah.
Do they just dissipate? Do they sort of like go away, or do we excrete them?
They get managed for a couple things. So I would break that question down into two things. So one, what happens to those reactive oxygen species? This is just a buffer to help your body do its job naturally, right? So your body has the ability to replenish melatonin and glutathione, right? But there's a rate limit.
Especially if we don't take a lot of melatonin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a rate limit. And if you're stressing it more than the rate limit of production.
I got it.
Right. Then at that point, it starts to do damage. And this just, hey, I'll hold on to these guys while you build up your melatonin and glutathione. And then those reactive oxygen species just get managed like normal. They just don't have the opportunity to do any damage, right?
So they're in a holding cell until they, sober up, and then they can go back into society. I love a good metaphor, and that really helped me.
And then the next, I think, piece of that question is, well, what about this ESS60 molecule? Like, how long does it stay in our system? In the literature, it shows to stay in your system about 10 days. So it gets excreted in about 10 days. And making sure stuff's done. And we've got testimonials that kind of parallel that. And I'm sure I'll share one of those at some point. But I did want to get back to these crazy wacky biohackers, right? Because they're really fun, right? So we're basically added not for human consumption to our labeling mid 2013. And then we start getting about 2 to 3 phone calls per week from, again, these crazy wacky biohackers. And the calls go something like this. Hey, Chris, my knee pain is gone. Hey, Joe, you mean the knee pain of your rat, because it literally says not for human consumption on the labeling. Hey, and Joe is like, yeah, hey, if my rat weighs 275 pounds and does HIIT training on Wednesdays and Fridays, should my rat take 4 on Wednesdays and Fridays? So we knew what was going on.
What was the answer to that? Should the rat do that?
The answer is yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And
you can't do too much of it.
Our current thought process is that the toxicity level of the product is the same as the toxicity level of olive oil on its own, which involves drowning, right? Like you'll actually start throwing up olive oil before, and I don't know if that counts as toxicity. Your body's just like, that's too much oil, get rid of it, right? Is that toxic? Yeah. So short answer is probably no.
All right, so let's go back to the 270-pound rat. So you realized something else is happening here.
Yeah. So the biohackers, we know what's going on, and even though we have not for human consumption on the labeling, the only reason we allow it,
they don't trust that. They don't believe. They're like, screw that. We're good. Yeah, we're gonna just try it.
That's what biohackers do. And we were okay with it because in the literature it was safe, right? Like we're still being conservative. In fact, every quarter, Robert and I would get together and say, do we want to get into the supplement industry? And actually in the room right beyond me, that's the conference room where we met. And the answer every single quarter was no, because we talked about this a little bit. The supplement industry is I think it's generous to say it's a challenged industry, right? Like, is that generous? Is that
you are literally like, we could do a 10-part series on that.
On the challenged industry, and then we might change the name in this time frame. So from 2013 all the way to kind of latter part of 2017, we're getting these 2 to 3 calls a week. I'm meeting with my business partner quarterly. Do we want to get it in this industry? I found a peer-reviewed published research paper that showed that 50% of the supplements that this group purchased on the market didn't have in them what they said they had in them. That's how challenged the market is, right? And so no. Finally, at the latter part of 2017, a guy with a big YouTube following, I mean, that's how everything happens these days, starts talking about all the benefits he's getting, taking it on a daily basis. And our phone went from 2 to 3 calls per week to 10 calls a day. And
how did they know that you were the ones doing this?
Well, because we're in the paper. Our lab is mentioned in the paper, right? Like we were the OGs, the oldest and longest manufacturer of this molecule on the planet. And so in that quarterly meeting, we looked back, like we kind of looked back and said, hey, 50% of the supplements on the market, I mean, this is going to happen in this industry. We're in a unique place. We're the oldest and longest manufacturer. We got the lab. We know how to deliver exacting standards because we've been delivering to professors for God's sake.
And people were trying to deliver this molecule, or they really just couldn't find it. Were there people out there trying to do it?
They bought it from us. Again, in the early days, they bought it from us because we were the right place to buy it. Now,
got it.
There are not as many who are buying it from us now, which means they're getting it from out of the country, wherever that means, right? Where we know the manufacturers. We've been doing this for 34 years. So we should get in because the industry is going to go the wrong direction. So that's one piece. And we asked ourselves, when we made that decision, we asked ourselves 2 questions. And the first is the moral question. Are we comfortable selling it? I take it. My wife takes it. Everybody on our team takes it. By the way, it's not a requirement. Like you don't clock in and get a shot of MyVitalC. There's no kind of Gattaca dystopian company.
What do you mean? That's what I do in my supplement company. That's not normal. That's not normal.
We got to move this volume through.
I'm going to have to revisit our processes. Okay, I'm just.
It's a SOP, right? Like that's just I don't know. It's in the document. I didn't make it.
That's like my whole team. Like literally, pretty much my whole team in my private practice were clients first, and now it's like, well, you have to be living this lifestyle. You have to have been a client before I can hire you because that's just the way. It's
and it works better, right? Because then they're
it actually does work better.
Yeah, 100%. And so that's the are we morally comfortable selling it? And then there's the legal piece from the FDA and the FTC. You got to cross the T's, dot the I's.
Oh,
We're a
yeah.
GMP facility, all of that good stuff.
And you can only say so much.
Yeah, and you can only say so much. So that's where we landed. And then my journey kind of changed because I'm shifting from being the chief scientist, and I still am, of a carbon nanomaterial manufacturing business to being the chief scientist of a supplement industry or business. And I start learning stuff. Like I start learning a whole lot of stuff, and some of it's disappointing, and some of them is exciting. But that's kind of how we ended up here.
I love to hear these kinds of founder stories and the evolution of where how you've built this. And I love that we've got 3 decades of knowledge, experience, and total science backing on this. But here's my big question. And this is what I always ask. Okay, just because it worked in rats, what makes us know that this would work in humans? I mean, I guess we have our biohackers that are not afraid of anything and they can test it out on us, on themselves, but we don't typically test that kind of stuff on humans, right? So how did we know that, and how do we feel that confidence?
Well, so first is we always do tests on rats, right? And in fact, what you're asking is a question probably for the first 2 years everybody I could talk to, right? Trying to learn the space, trying to understand what the medical community thinks about aging, trying to understand how this molecule might be work, kind of landing on that boss theory. One of the questions I was asking is like, there is a number. There is a percentage of things that happens in a rat that happen in a human, and also a percentage of things that happen in a rat and don't happen in a human. Like there is a number. We may never know the exact number, but there's a number. And finally, one day, this is kind of a long story, but my business partner's office is on the other side of the wall. And so I'm hearing him, and he's having a conversation with a Dr. Kudabek from DePaul University. And Dr. Kudabek takes rat studies into human studies on a regular basis. And I just got enough of the conversation that I hop over there and I'm like, all right, Dr. Kudabek, this is me, Chris, I'm the other guy. I have to ask you this question, what percentage of things? And he tells this kind of protracted story, which is, many scientists, when they want to offer exact evidence that what happens in a rat doesn't happen in human, will use this case. And the case is a morning sickness drug that they gave to rats. No problem. They started giving it to humans in a small trial. Unfortunately, they noticed deformities in the fetuses. And they're like, see, what happens in a rat doesn't happen in a human. And then Dr. Kudabek continues to say, had they looked at the fetuses of the rats, they would have noticed the deformities and they would have never given it to humans, right? So even his own example of what the community typically offers as proof that what happens in a rat doesn't happen in a human is debunked, right? So it's a lot. There's a reason that we always do toxicity studies in rats, and that can move and be applicable to humans because this is kind of interesting. We are pretty bad at kind of externally understanding genetic material, right? So most people would say mouse and rat, more similar, right? A rat is just a big mouse. We are actually more genetically similar to a rat than a rat is to a mouse. Like we
gosh, I did not know that. Although I will say, when I see a mouse, I see a rat. I see a big sewer rat that's trying to kill me. FYI. So to me, they are exactly the same. In fact, mice don't exist; they are only big sewer rats. But I get it, and what you're saying here, that is really interesting. Actually, I did not know that at all.
Yeah, so our intuition is really bad about this, and there is a reason that we always do studies in rats. And so,
I mean that makes sense because we do.
Yes, yeah, right. Like you would not. I mean, there's a water soluble version of C60 that is on the market, right? That's C60, the molecule. This is a new molecule, and there is 0 toxicity studies on this molecule, right? It is not a naturally occurring molecule, and I would not put that molecule in my body until there are rat studies on it. And then once the rat studies are on, I would probably put it in my body, right? Like this is the approach. And so in that context, biohackers, I think, do have it right. Like don't go running around taking stuff that, at least a rat hasn't been given.
Yeah. Okay. So then this is where we go from translating stuff like ratios and stuff like that. What's the average lifespan of a rat? And then what was it with this molecule?
So I'm gonna share an extra piece because this is kind of interesting. So a typical Wistar rat lives out 32 months and has a known amount of tumor mass in its body. The longer it lives, the more tumor mass it has in its body. Even though the MyVitalC rats lived out to 62 months, again, 90% longer, none of them had any tumors. Now, I've told this story.
None of the ones that had the molecule had any of the tumors.
Zero. They should have had twice.
The tumors don't kill them. Is that what I should?
Tumors are a big cause of their demise.
Early demise.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I've told this story and people are like, oh, cure for cancer. And I'm like, no. And then I follow that with another no. There's a big difference between dealing with a cancer that has metastasized and actually being potentially a cancer preventative. And we know things as simple as good nutrition, good sleep, good exercise are cancer preventatives. But
as well as healthy mitochondria.
And so does healthy mitochondria. Now, get this. So yeah, you're.
I am so obsessed right now, Chris. I can't even tell you.
So get this. So it's a Petri dish study, which is the lowest. Like I would take an anecdote over a Petri dish study. I mean, you should, because taking something from a Petri dish and bringing it into a living animal is like, that doesn't correlate often. But in a Petri dish, they had cancer cells and healthy cells, and they introduced an anti-cancer agent, which is a poison, right? Your goal is to poison the cancer before the healthy cells. In the presence of the ESS60 molecule, there was increased efficacy against the cancer cells and protective effects for the healthy cells. So what that means is, in the presence of ESS60, the anti-cancer agent killed more cancer cells and less healthy cells died.
That's huge. That's the whole problem.
So why
cancer treatment right now, right?
We know that cancer cells use energy differently, right? There are more glucose-based energy sources. So at a minimum, their mitochondria are driven by different drivers. And you just throw in this ESS, and we don't know the exact mechanism, but the fact that the ESS60 molecule is in there and probably holding onto these, like it's causing the mitochondria to function differently, is why we think that's happened. And there are actually patents of this molecule related to cancer treatments in pets. Now, a patent doesn't mean it works. It just means somebody had the idea and they patented. I don't want to pretend that that's
right.
That's proven. But it was worthy of patenting.
Okay. So how did they play with ratios with rats, and like higher ratios, they get to live longer? You know what I mean? Like, and then how does that translate into humans? Like, how much are we supposed to be taking so we can get that same effect? Because this is the thing that I always talk about, right? You've been around 34 years, but still we don't have the study on like how long can a person live, right? Like this is what we're living and breathing this experiment right now with all of our biohacking. So help me understand the ratio for rats, how that worked out. Did we play with that? And then how do you translate that into the ratio for humans?
Well, one thing that is kind of interesting to point out is when you're doing the first toxicity study, right? So they assumed it was toxic. When you do the first toxicity study, you don't just give a little bit to the rats and see if they feel unwell. You load them up. So they were heavily loaded with the material. And they actually didn't start loading them until month 10, right? So they were well into adulthood when they started receiving the ESS molecule. And even though that they were aged, right? So some people were like, oh, I'm older. Could this potentially have some benefits? Well, according to the study, the answer is yes. So how do you translate that into what humans should take? There's a thing called an allometric calculation, which I'm super geeky. So I found this just to be kind of weirdly super cool. We have different metabolisms from rats, right? And a great parallel for metabolism is surface area. So you take the surface area of a human, this is just so stupidly geeky, and you take the surface area of a rat and you use that ratio and you can calculate it's called an allometric calculation, the amount that a human should be taking. So we did that calculation, turns out to be about 5 mils per day, which is 1 teaspoon. And we do recommend in the morning. There's a small percentage of people, if they take it at the latter in the day, it'll keep them up. That is definitely not true for me. I am also the weirdo who can drink a cup of coffee. And, I know from my Oura Ring, it's not great sleep, but I can sleep. Like it just doesn't keep me up.
I finally got my husband who had that same exact theory. We got him the Whoop bracelet And he realized really that he wasn't getting good sleep. And I'm like, and then his blood pressure was a little bit elevated. And so he cut out coffee. He finally said, okay, after 12, no more coffee, and everything regulated. So FYI.
No, that's when I had
it was hard though. It's been years, and we finally
you need the data. Your husband's data driven, so like yeah.
It's the same thing with continuous glucose monitoring with my clients. Like once they see it, they're like, "Oh my gosh, you're right." I'm like, "What you teach works." I'm like, "I don't know."
Donuts really do spike my blood sugar.
Oh my gosh!
Surprise!
Yeah. Okay. So I love that 5 milliliters. Now with MyVitalC, tell me where the name came from. I'm always interested in names.
Yeah.
MyVitalC is the name of your company, is the name of your products. Yep. So tell me.
Yeah. So the C is for carbon, right? And when we came up with the name, there was zero doubts in my mind that some people might think of it as vitamin C, Vital E, right? And no one doubts that vitamin C is healthy. So the name screams healthy, right? So and there is some community, the confusion, not very often, but there is some confusion every now and then.
Could also mean Chris.
Oh, yeah. I didn't think of that.
Never thought of that.
Remember, I'm not bragging.
In fact, the first time I saw you, that's what I thought it was. And then
wow.
It's
MyVital Chris.
So Chris, you sent me a whole bunch of stuff, which I love. And so like, tell me, like you have different, I love this too, because as somebody that's studied a ton of supplements and has our own supplement line, we've always talked about how you actually take a product, right? And there's capsules, there's gels, there's, oils, there's all sorts of different things. So let's talk about and the ways that you have manufactured this so it's most effective.
Yeah. Well, really, we want to mimic what happened in that original study, right? And the closest mimic to that. And so we do have multiple oils, and people are like, should I take olive oil? Should I take avocado oil? Should I take MCT oil? We always recommend the olive oil first for two reasons. First, we are a science-based organization, and almost all of the research is on the ESS60 molecule in olive oil, right? So that's number one.
Wait, can I ask you this? So when you say olive oil, are you talking about cooking with it or just taking it?
You just take it. Yeah. Sure. I'll show you.
Okay.
I haven't had mine since I got to the office. So I got a little measuring cup. I'll do a little 5 mils, and we'll say cheers.
Okay, cheers. But you don't want to throw up after you take, like I think about olive oil and drinking it straight. And you're good.
People don't like it. And the reality is that we use a high quality extra virgin olive oil. So now I'm feeling the pepper. You will get a peppery flavor at the back of your throat.
Okay.
That's a sign of it's actually oleocanthal, which is the polyphenol that causes that peppery flavor. Maybe you've been to an Italian restaurant where they'll pour an olive oil in a little dish to dip your bread in, and then they'll crack pepper in it.
Yeah.
They're cracking pepper to make an inexpensive olive oil taste expensive.
Could I make that into like a salad dressing too?
100%. Now, I would just say this, be prepared to lick the plate because it would be the most expensive olive oil that you have used. Right? Because vaporizing right at the temperature of the sun, the molecule.
I guess I'm saying if you're taking a teaspoon of it, and I made a salad dressing, and I do want to lick the plate then because I want all of it in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Well, and the other thing is you could just dip it with bread, right? If that's, if that's in your...
If we have some protein with it, and then the fat and the olive oil, and then the carb in the bread, we got PFC going on right now. We can balance our blood sugar. Okay. But you have a night serum. This is interesting to me. When I unpacked the box, I had seen it on your website too, and I was so excited that you sent this to me. I'm always looking for a good serum, but tell me about this.
So that there's a good story about that. One of our business partners would just drink out of the bottle, right? And anything that was on the edge, she'd take and put on her skin, and she was noticing some great results. And she's like, you need to do a face serum, or we need to do a face serum. And if I've done a good job, you understand I didn't even really want to be, there's a tear off thing for the top.
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah.
I didn't even really want to be in the supplement industry. So when she was like, we should do a face serum, I was
like, you want to be in the skincare industry, which is even worse.
I woke up today thinking we should make a face serum. And it did really good. People really love it. The base oil is chia seed oil. You can push that little thing down the scent.
This is how my bioidentical hormones come out too.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Yeah.
And
it's an oil. It is an oil.
Yes. And smell it. It's amazing.
Oh. And we're not talking about fragrance.
Nope. It's an oil.
Yeah, exactly. Big difference. People need to know that. So, and people put that on their face, but you could put it anywhere, I guess. Does this
Yes.
count in terms of the 5 milliliters a day that you're talking about?
We don't think of it in terms of that. It's just such a low quantity that you're
Just
putting
so
on.
great. Right. Okay.
And by the
So
way,
this isn't the way I want to get it in on a regular basis, but what do people see in their skin when they use this?
so the way that I look at it is we're actually, so we have to be careful, right? We're starting a wrinkle and age spot clinical trial. We are starting out with this product. So this is a different product, which you also got. Hopefully you got it. A nice
Which one
fancy
is that?
box. It should be a big white box, not a big white.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to share this story. The Colorado Longevity Institute, their team came to our booth at A4M, and they basically said this. They say, hey, your regular product that might extend my life, get that out of the way. Living healthier, potentially, get that out of the way. I am here for your skin reduo set. What this is, wait, before you open it, right?
Okay.
Or you can open it, but don't do anything with it. So we have 2 bottles, right? The bigger bottle is a peptide. We call it UTH29. That's Youth 29. I learned later.
Oh, I love how you named that.
Isn't that cool? It's a peptide, so it's water soluble. We wanted to combine it with our oil soluble ESS60 molecule. We could have shoved them together with an emulsifier. Emulsifiers are not good, right? They don't sound good and they don't have health benefits. So we kept it separate. So you would have to take, but I'll show you. You do 1 squirt. I'll do what? Oh, this is almost empty. Every squirt and the blue color. Yeah, you got to twist it a little bit after you get the plastic out.
I got you.
It's a little, there you go.
Oh, I got it.
And then get 1 squirt in your palm.
Yeah.
And then
it's blue.
Yeah, that's the UTH29 peptide. That is not a colorant. We don't put colorant in it. And then we do 2 drops per squirt. So 2 drops of the ESS60 activator right there in your palm per squirt.
I'm like a chemist right now.
Yep.
Okay. Hang on. I gotta take this
Get
off.
the safety seal off.
When would I do this? In the morning and night?
This is what I use every morning.
Okay. If you're a girl and you've got, all like makeup and all stuff in the day, would I do this in the morning and then put my makeup and stuff over it?
Yeah. My wife will use
2 drops?
2 drops per squirt. So I usually use 2 squirts, but and then you activate it, mix it right there in your hand.
I don't need an emulsifier.
Isn't that cool? And then
I'm putting this on my face. I have makeup on.
Yeah, that's fine. Like you back a hand or whatever, I'll apply it on my face. What I say is you put on everything that shows aging, which seems to be more and more, every year.
Yeah, especially when I get in my 50s. Okay.
Also, smells amazing. Damask rose oil.
Anything that could keep people from having to do their Botox.
Yeah, but that's our goal, right?
Yeah, because I keep saying like we can't keep putting toxic stuff in our
Now the peptide has 30 years of skin and hair improvement in peer-reviewed published research, and then the ESS60 molecule has research with skin improvement, pigmentation, and wrinkle improvement. So it's
what peptide is this when you say peptide?
It's copper peptide.
Say that again.
Copper peptide.
Copper peptide.
That's that blue color, and so we just branded it Youth 29.
I love that. So then, would I do my oil, this oil at night?
Yeah,
and then do like kind of this in the morning, kind of thing.
That's what I do. And then
you've kind of got all of it working for you. But this is very different than putting the molecule in your body, like the olive oil. But you do have some other products, and I just think that's interesting because, like, I love how much you guys have done. So this right here. You have 2 boxes. One is MCT. Blue and one is purple.
Yep. So the blue is the olive oil and the purple is the MCT oil. It's interesting. The reason the MCT is purple, MCT oil is basically a clear liquid, right?
Yep.
If you take that black carbon powder and you dump it in the clear liquid, it turns a beautiful purple color. So if you look at that ESS60 activator, that's actually MCT, the ESS60 molecule, and the fragrance oil. It's not a fragrance; it's a scented essential oil.
Yeah. Which I love. So, could I also put this in my smoothie, like in my protein shake in the morning? Okay.
Absolutely. Okay, and so at one point, Starbucks was, hey, you could add an ounce
Yeah.
or whatever. And then people were getting disaster pants and they were like, no. So 5
So I
mil.
want to do 5 milliliters of this.
Yes.
I'm gonna try it. This is the olive oil one.
Yes. And that's the recommended one.
Yeah.
So if you don't like oil,
why did you decide to do MCT oil and avocado oil? Like, I know what it takes to manufacture multiple products, you know what I mean? And all the things that you're doing in that. So like, why did you decide?
So there are some people who are interested in the different flavors. We actually had one person who was allergic to olive oil and allergic to MCT, which I found very surprising. A sip of water will make the flavor go away if you don't like it.
No, it was actually totally fine. I've had oil before and it was totally fine.
Yeah. And it might kick in a little bit of a peppery at the back of your throat here in a second. But yeah, so
it's actually great. I was expecting it to be worse and I was going to have to make up a lie. I did not have to make up a lie at all. Okay, wait. This hit me right away because I actually did not know about this. I don't know how I missed this on your site, but I have learned that I work with mostly women, right? They will prioritize their kids and then their pets before themselves.
Yep.
Their husband's sort of somewhere in there.
Yeah. I think the husband goes in the pet category.
I would agree. Maybe one below the pet. It depends on a few different factors. But like you have a pet option here, and so like again, we translated rats to humans to dogs. Tell me more.
Yeah,
this is so interesting.
It is, and you're right. People will spend more. Just a fun little stat: we sell 3 times as much dog as we do cat. So cat.
Oh yeah. Well, people know that their cats are kind of, a-holes.
Yeah. I think that's right. Maybe 9 lives is enough. We don't need more.
Right. Like we extend it as long as we need to. Okay. So that makes sense.
So the dog and cat product is our olive oil product. In the case of the dog, we add a little bit of bacon essence. In the case of the cat, we add a little bit of salmon essence. Some cats can be finicky if you just make your cat eat it, which some people seem incapable of doing. I can be kind of brutal and there's your food. And when you eat it, then I'll give you more.
Do you put it in their food or just have them? Yeah,
just
that's what I would think.
Okay, and we've got videos of like big Labradors who you think would just chow down, right? And they set the food down after the dog's used to it. And the dog is waiting for the ESS 60. Is waiting for
Oh my gosh, that is so cool. Okay, I love that too. And then the last thing we'll talk about really quickly. So I also love a product, and I very much believe in like my digestive enzyme, for example, has multiple benefits to it and things going on in there. But you've got some of these little mini things. One is party recovery, which I don't think I'd ever really need at this stage in my life.
Yeah.
Because I never will get myself to that place. But you also have exercise recovery, better sleep, and focus and energy, all using the same molecule. And it's in a vial. So the oil is there. What else?
a little ampule. Yeah. So those are all the exact same product. That's what our customers tell us the product does. Right. And so we tend to use these at conferences so we can start a conversation with people. Yeah, those are cool. Little ampules. That's 5 mils or 1 teaspoon in each one of those.
What I love about what you're saying, Chris, is when you have this stuff, because that was going to be my next question, what are the things that you can start to experience right away? And we're literally talking about focus and energy, better sleep, exercise recovery, and better recovery when you might have had a few too many to drink. And that just says to me, this is the kind of stuff, in addition to longevity, that you start to feel right away. Am I right?
Well, we tend to map it out over like a 3-month period, and I'll kind of map that out. So
I feel like 3 months is right away to me, even though that's not what diet culture says. You know what I mean? Yeah. But you're right. Like people aren't going to maybe feel it tomorrow, and I think that's why some people don't stick with things, because I believe that diet culture has us believing that it's like an Amazon delivery. The minute we decide we're going to change something, we should see the delivery at our front door.
Yeah. No. 100%. So month 1, we really think about focus and energy. And the testimonial I'll lean on there is we got some product to an influencer she recorded a video that night and pointed out that she didn't finish her cup of coffee that day, right? So back to your husband, if he had noticed that he didn't finish his cup of coffee because he had this, we're like, oh, like this is impressive, focus and energy.
Yep.
And I will share, I used to be a 2 to 3 cup of coffee per day person. When
Chris, I was 5 to 6. I mean, I don't even know how I was surviving. So I get it.
So
you don't need that.
So now I don't. No, I'm actually more of like a half a cup. It's the ritual. I come in, I like the smell, and I like make the coffee and chat with people. So that's true for me. There are also some things that people can recognize, and you'll know this. If you can replace some of your saturated fats with a healthy oil like olive oil, there are good downstream health weight loss benefits. In month 2, it's really sleep. And I think it takes the second month for sleep to land because everybody gets a little bit more or less sleep every day, right? Like I had a friend visiting and so I got less sleep last night, right? And so when that happens, it's hard to track back to, hey, I started this on this day and that's why my sleep has been good. The testimonial I lean on here is I have a business coach and he said for 50 years he needed an alarm clock to wake up. When he started MyVitalC, he wakes up before the alarm clock. Now,
I love that. That's right? The best testimonial. Yeah.
Right. Like it's, I love this because it's not like, oh, I feel better. Right. Like it's no, I don't need the alarm clock. And it's an important point. He's a business coach. So he has late night mixers, late night dinners. None of that matters until he doesn't have the product for about 10 days. And then he starts to need the alarm clock again. So that coincides with what the literature suggests this will clear your body.
This is why it's so important to me. We talk about the 6 spinning plates, and it's nutrition, exercise, sleep, managing our stress, hydration, and supplementation. And supplementation is one of those. So we're never saying that these other pieces, but you have to spin all these 6 spinning plates. And it's really hard to figure out which supplements are going to do the things that we really need them to do. And to me, this is such an important piece of the puzzle that, again, people don't really know about. This is such an incredible thing. We all talk about like vitamin C, vitamin D, omegas, magnesium, right? Like all that. But this is so incredible for people to recognize. And how do you know that something's working? Up until like, again, the population that listens to my podcast that works with me is like, the diet worked because I lost weight. And my whole thing is, what is the definition of something working? All of your 6 spinning plates have to be getting better so that you can live a life of vitality and health and longevity. And that's, to me, this is such a great definition with these testimonials and this evidence that this is what we mean when we say something works.
Yeah.
You know, how much better do you feel? How much better are you living? That's incredible. I love this, Chris, so much.
And the month 3, right? If you think about reducing the negative impact of stress mitochondria, right? We get frankly, we get testimonials we can't share, right? The FDA, we've got to do the research before we can share them. The FDA won't let us share the testimonials.
Well, that's because you have integrity, but that's not the way many supplement companies operate.
That seems to be true. But the example that I'll give is my father-in-law, he was walking with a cane. He actually at about the 3-month mark was able to not use the cane, started walking further. And not because of our product, but because of the additional walking, lost weight that just had this compounding effect. And that's kind of the systemic benefits that we see. I will share, we just fired up our migraine study. So this is a clinical trial on migraines because the testimonials on migraines are just off the charts. And again, remember I kind of hinted Chris wishes he was smarter. Chris has his own. I love
how you talk in the third person.
Right, there we go. That's to distance me from the desire to have done better. So I have a spreadsheet back to 2014 tracking my migraines, right? Because I would get 4 to 5 migraines every year. Migraines suck. They're debilitating. How do I fix this freaking problem? Yep. When I started taking this on a regular basis, I didn't get a migraine for 18 months. So I should have had 6 or 7. And when I got my first migraine, it was because I went off the product to join my own sleep study.
Oh, how interesting. I mean, if you need any more proof that worked, then my goodness.
And then
I can't imagine what it would be.
And then my business partner's mom's caretaker, she didn't even know that it might help with those. And then there's a podcaster, Ashley James, who just like raved about how good this is for her husband. Her husband is kind of debilitating migraines. And then I was like, I should do a study. So now we started a study on migraines. We're starting a study on HSCRP, right? So C-reactive protein is an inflammatory marker typically associated with cardiovascular disease, also with cancers, inflammation and status in general. We're starting that. We're doing a more formalized sleep study. And finally, we're doing a wrinkle and age spot study or skin pigmentation study. So, and by the way, all of that.
I can't wait to hear about all these results. I love good studies.
Yes. And all of that is, we are an extremely, and you'll appreciate this, we're an extremely weird supplement company because most supplement companies don't continue to do research and even fewer published. We published in 2024. We published in 2025. We'll be publishing this year and starting the studies. Like
we are really expensive too.
Yeah.
So you got to be dedicated to saying that this matters because we prioritize what's most important, right? We do that with our health. We do that with our life. We do that with our, our finances. How many women I'll hear say, I would spend the money on my kid, but not on myself, right? And so you guys prioritize what's most important. So I think that's huge. And that's why one of the reasons why I think I don't bring a lot of people that have supplements on my podcast ever, but yours is different. I mean, we spent an hour together. My podcasts aren't even this long because this is so interesting, important, and like people just don't know this. I'm so excited to be able to share this.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me, and thank you for the time because, well, I mean, it's an interesting journey, right? I've been on this.
Yeah.
I typically say that people in the supplement industry get there one of two ways, right? The first is they have their own health problem. Well, actually, they wake up one day and they decide to be wealthy and they decide to do it with supplements. And I have no problem with people being wealthy, right? Like it's just not how I ended up here. The other is people have their own health considerations or maybe the health consideration of a loved one. They solve it and now they want to save the world. And hopefully it doesn't surprise you. I'm not against people saving the world. It's just not how I ended up here. I've been manufacturing this crazy, wacky molecule since 1991. They thought it would be toxic. The rats lived 90% longer. And now I'm just trying to be a good steward of the molecule and of the potential benefits that people will get on the product.
So amazing. Okay. So Chris, I know that all of my listeners are going to get some really awesome benefits for sticking with us for this long.
Thank you.
in our podcast. So there's a website. We're going to put it in our show notes and all of that. Share where they can go and what crazy awesome benefits are waiting for them on that side.
Okay. Excellent. So the link is myvitalc.com/Carrie. So super simple. When they land there, they're going to find I did a longevity summit, interviewed 57 experts in longevity, including Dave Asprey, Ben Greenfield, Dr. Stephen Gundry. And so I pulled together 18 biohacking tips. Absolutely, we need your email, but absolutely free. So,
my gosh.
So grab that.
So good.
Yeah. And then we've got specials as you go down the page, the 4-ounce bottle, right? So that's the recommended olive oil. You can buy.
That's what I have here.
Yep. You can buy 2, 3, or 6. There's a 40% discount on 6. Why are we doing that? Well, you kind of heard me talk about the 3-month time frame. 3 months for yourself, maybe 3 months for somebody else who needs it, or be selfish. I would and keep it for yourself. So that's there. If you scroll,
or if you care about, like my husband and I are empty nesters, and if I want to share with him, then maybe I will.
Maybe, yeah. I can hook you up too, by the way. And then just note that there isn't a subscription option, and you save a little bit more on subscription, even if you just want to try it once. Take advantage of that subscription discount. Our customer service, you can cancel at any time. Our customer service team has 1,000 5-star reviews on Google. So they're not trained to talk you out of canceling your subscription. They're trained to help you, and they do an amazing job. As you scroll down, you've got the Inside Out set, which is that Skin Reduo set that we kind of showed. That's the UTH29 peptide, that one, beautiful box. And the ESS60 activator, plus the olive oil, the 4-ounce olive oil. Again, you can buy 2, 3, or 6.
So like a bundle.
It's a nice little bundle inside and out. You want to take care of yourself inside and out, right?
Yeah. I mean, do you know how many people are asking me about skincare, all of that stuff? I love this so much.
we have men who are like, I've never tried or liked skincare, and now I do it every day. Like it's crazy. And so you've got that inside out set. And then if you go on the bottom, that's where I've got something that I'm really proud of. Of course, I'm really proud of my book, Live Longer and Better. You can find that on Amazon for $19.95 at the bottom of the page, myvitalc.com/carry. You can find the book for $19.95. For an extra $10, I'll autograph that book for you. 100% of that $10 fee goes to Operation Underground Railroad. So people in your audience may remember the movie The Sound of Freedom, which was an amazing movie about a horrible topic, which is child sex trafficking. Operation Underground Railroad is doing a great job of wiping that off of our planet, which should have been done yesterday by all reason. 100% of that signature fee goes to Operation Underground Railroad.
I mean, in this day and age right now, with everything that's coming out, it couldn't be. In fact, before we started this podcast, you and I were just talking about that and those files that are showing up
across the internet.
Exploding. So I love that it is not just something you're jumping on; it's something that you've been a part of for a really long time. But it is obviously very front and center right now in our nation. So I love that. Chris, tell everybody where they can also find you, because your Instagram channel is incredible, so full of education and knowledge. And while we took a long time to explain this here, you explain this kind of stuff in little bits and pieces.
Yeah. So Instagram is MyVitalC. Same for TikTok. It's funny to watch because like some videos just take off. I don't know, like they take off and you're like, I don't know why. But yeah, so we've got some interesting content that's going viral right now. So TikTok and Instagram, it's MyVitalC, C as in carbon. And then we're on all the platforms.
Or C as in Chris.
Or C as in Chris. Carbon Chris. Maybe it should have been CC.
Carbon Chris.
Maybe. Now if I could figure out how to do a carbon copy of Chris, right? Then we got CQ, and then life would be easier for me. Yeah. So yeah, follow me on all the Instagram. I'm putting out a lot of content. I'm getting great feedback on the content, and I'm kind of following up with lots of comments and yeah.
Great. So go get your ESS60 molecule, but also follow along with Chris, because the education that he has and knowledge that he has, how long he's been in this industry is just mind-boggling. He's the real deal. I'm so excited to be able to have you here, and we're going to do a lot of other things together, but this is a great first step. So go check it out now. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you for having me, Carrie.